This is part 11 in a series of videos on how weird the Marvel Universe would be if John F. Kennedy was assassinated in 1946. I've covered some weird ground in this series, but this might be the weirdest. Did you know Wolverine has a brother? He has a half-brother, Dog Logan, from the 2001 Origin miniseries, but issue 2 of that series shows us a gravestone for John Howlett Jr., who died in 1897. Or did he? The Wolverine the End miniseries, set over 100 years in the future, reveals John Jr.'s death was faked, and his grandfather had him secretly committed because he was a mutant. Official Handbook of the Marvel Universe A to Z 13 says this miniseries is set on Earth 4011, so maybe John Jr. is dead in Earth 616, but the 2001 Origin miniseries is co-written by Paul Jenkins, who wrote Wolverine the End. It could be John Jr. secretly being alive was the plan when Origin was being written. Wolverine's grandfather, as awful as he is, doesn't strike me as awful enough to have his grandson killed, even if he's ashamed to have a mutant in the family. Hiding him away seems more in character for him. So I assume, even in Earth 616, John Jr. is still alive. We may never see him, and that's okay because Wolverine the End isn't very good, so we don't need reminders that comic exists, other than me right now. When Wolverine went to hell, he ostensibly saw his brother, but if the Wolverine went to hell and you were a demon, wouldn't you do everything you could to mess with him? In this weird world I'm playing in, James Howlett runs off to live in the woods and never rejoins society. But what became of his brother? He sees his mother kissing Thomas Logan, freaks out, attacks his mom. His grandfather has him committed in 1897, where he remains for a couple of years, sort of, until someone rescues him. I know who it is, but I won't say just yet. Even just a couple of years, sort of, in the asylum kind of ruined humanity for poor John. That and his family choosing to forget him, that had to hurt. But our mysterious rescuer needs John to not be on the path to the dark side, even if he has a good reason to be there. John is put in contact with Tobias Messenger, who's been traveling the world looking for mutants for a little while now. He already has a couple, Clara Prast, who can speak to and control plants, and Clara Creed, who has a little bit of a healing factor and is good with animals, though that may not be a power. If you're familiar with the timeline, you might be saying, hang on a sec, John was only incarcerated for a couple years, but Clara Prast was what, 10 in 1907? Something's not adding up. Something is adding up, my friend, because John was rescued by a time traveler who skipped over a decade, give or take, to get John out of the asylum. Our mystery rescuer thinks what's the best way to soften up a grumpy loner potentially on the path to becoming evil? Give him an adorable kid sidekick. Clara and John become thick as thieves. John reminds Clara of the man who saved her from her abusive husband a couple years earlier. The man she doesn't know is actually the brother to her teammate, Clara Creed. And Clara is the younger sibling John never got to be there for. Clara Creed is wary of John for the same reasons Clara Prast likes him. He reminds her of her brothers, who she wasn't able to save. But our time traveler thinks if things go sideways, Clara Creed might be able to calm John down in the same way she did with Saul before he ran off with Victor and got himself killed. Who is our time traveler? Tanya Trask, the daughter of Bolivar Trask. In another time, no pun intended, time and place, also called Madam Sanctity. She developed time travel powers and drifted through time, and as far as her father and brother knew, she had died. She was rescued by Rachel Summers around 2,000 years in the future, where they became part of the Askani clan. She tries to change the past and isn't successful. She eventually became the leader of the Askani and kind of goes crazy. Almost none of that happens in this timeline, as we have no Rachel Summers, no Askani son, and no Apocalypse taking over the world. With no Rachel Summers to rescue her, Tanya drifts through time and is rescued by another time dancer, the daughter of Kalu and Tokiku Minoru. Remember them? From part 4 in the series? Centuries ago, they had a kid, they died, and Merlin's daughter Roma raised the kid in the Starlight Citadel in Otherworld. She uses the Staff of One to save the day wherever Roma points her. But she's always had a soft spot for this world, whatever its numbering is, because this is where her parents came from, and she scoured the multiverse looking for another world where they met and were happy, but she never found one. And now Kalu's daughter, I never did name her, let's call her Shirley for narrative's sake, Shirley has a problem because this world is in big trouble. In the Exiles series, initially, we're told this team was gathered by the Time Broker because across the multiverse, there are worlds with problems that need to be fixed, and if they're not, it endangers the multiverse. We later find out there's another team, Weapon X, no relation, and theirs is a similar quest, except it's a little more brutal. Kill this kid who will become a tyrannical despot, that sort of thing. We eventually find out the Time Broker was an illusion created by these aliens called the Time Breakers. They came upon this crystal palace called the Panopticon that exists outside of time and space, and they accidentally broke the multiverse. So they recruited these teams to fix their mistake. Why they thought they needed a Time Broker illusion, I don't know. I don't believe we were ever told where the Panopticon came from or who built it, but it exists outside of time and space, and all realities in the multiverse can be observed from here. This This sounds an awful lot like Otherworld, a nexus connecting other dimensions as well as alternate realities across the multiverse. Merlin's father either built or more likely unified these previously ununified city-states in that area that we know as Otherworld. What if Merlin's father, or some other entity before he unified everything, built the Panopticon and it exists somewhere near or in Otherworld? This isn't officially canon, but really, it makes sense. And as the Exiles and Weapon X are unofficially guardians of the multiverse, and agents of Otherworld are guardians of the multiverse, well, that sounds like the Panopticon and Otherworld have to be connected. Maybe when the Timebreakers did whatever they did, someone from Otherworld leaned on them. Hey, we are already really busy, fix this mess. Why would Merlin's father, or whoever built the Panopticon, abandon it for the Timebreakers to come and wreck everything? I assume because it's relatively easy to access. Otherworld, while it can be accessed, is probably trickier to get to. Whoever built it liked the idea of observing the multiverse, but needed a better fortified place to do that, so relocated to wherever Otherworld is to essentially do the same thing they wanted to do from the Panopticon. But they didn't want to destroy the Panopticon, as they might need it in case something goes wrong at Otherworld. Getting back to the Exiles, we were told there were two teams, and later iterations of one of those teams with a severely different lineup. But even if they were averaging one world per day, which they weren't, the multiverse is ginormous. There would be more than enough work for multiple teams of Exiles and Weapon X's. There would have to be more than two teams. The Time Broker says these hiccups create a domino effect. Two teams would not be fast enough to fix everything. That brings us to this wacky world, where Shirley and Roma have some creative differences. One change in this reality created a massive domino effect we are still exploring, and one of our Weapon XS teams has been told it might be better to cut this world off completely rather than let its weirdness domino into the rest of the multiverse. Roma, she's not a bad guy, but she probably agrees with this assessment. She didn't love that some of the Timebreakers teams had to do some morally gray stuff, but she understood the necessity of it. But Shirley's not having it. This world is special to her, but she can't devote all of her time to saving it because Roma could stop her and let the Weapon X team do their thing. And she's busy across the multiverse, plugging holes the Exiles and Weapon X teams aren't able to take care of. But when Roma's not looking, she can jump here or there and try to fix things. Okay, that world is still a problem, but it's not as high a priority as some of these other worlds at the moment. Shirley rescues this world's version of Tanya Trask and tells her, your world will die, you need to get protectors ready to defend it from interdimensional invaders. That's what this has all been about. Tanya Trask isn't omniscient or anything, but with a little secret training from Shirley, she can control her powers better than when they manifested. She jumps to different points in time to determine who will be the best agent she can recruit to be anti-Exiles. John Howlett, effectively immortal, is her first recruit. Well, not recruit because he doesn't know what's going on. Tanya believes Shirley because Shirley quickly took her to the Starlight Citadel. You don't go to the Starlight Citadel and come away a skeptic. But Tanya can't tell every superhuman she finds their world is in danger. She can't take anyone to the Starlight Citadel, so they either think she's crazy, or even if they believe her, if they make too much noise, the Timebreakers and Roma might notice them and they lose the element of surprise. Tanya will seek out others to try to prepare for the end times without telling them what they're preparing for. But that's a subject for another time. I hope you liked this one, a little different from some of my others in this series. If you did, I'll hopefully have something else in this vein in the future. In the meantime, have a good one. Catch you later.